Hey guys, Youngblood with you for the 84th episode of the Inbox. Starting off with a question from Ben Farr saying, do you think they'll ever make a cargo variant of the Vanguard? It's definitely my favorite ship design, but I'd like to see it be able to hold a bit more cargo or even a Dragonfly or a Nox. There aren't really any ships aside from the Cutlass that have a middle ground of cargo space where you can either have cargo or a small vehicle. No, I don't think that's going to happen. The Vanguard is very specific to being a long-range fighter, and the fact that they actually added in the dropship version was kind of an interesting addition that I think was made out of necessity, for Squadron 42, since the Redeemer wasn't ready and the Retaliator drop bay module doesn't necessarily apply in a lot of situations. So I think that was kind of a interesting direction they took it, but as of right now, no, there shouldn't be any plans to do that. I think what they've done as far as the Sentinel and the Harbinger, it was to actually build out different ways to support military operations, but the ship isn't really designed in a way to carry cargo in a real effective manner. The layout, I think it's made to have that middle section be a module, and that means there's going to be those kind of bays or those airlocks on either side that really prevents a good cargo space from happening and really good loading capability. So the short answer is no, I don't see that happening at all. Ailarath says, do you think they will implement thermal or night vision scopes, goggles, binoculars, and ways to mask thermal on the body? I haven't heard this mentioned at all. That doesn't mean they haven't said it, but I haven't personally heard it. It wouldn't surprise me if it was something that was added in specifically for ships. When you actually get into 3.0, and we've seen some things during like various streams, the moons can be incredibly dark on the other, when you're in the non-star side. So I wouldn't be surprised if they added something in that was like maybe an add-on. I think something like night vision goggles would be incredibly useful, especially when you're exploring and kind of searching around planets. So I think that's something we will see. But I'm not necessarily sure that it's going to be anything that we see in the short term. As far as ways to mask thermal on the body, assuming thermal scopes actually come, then I think you'll probably see some things in regards to like the stamina system. If you're exerting yourself, you'll probably show up a little bit brighter than if you're just standing still, but I don't think they're necessarily going to put anything in that just says this is a thermal masking suit, for example. Grazanius says, do you think there's a tier system in Star Citizen, especially regarding the fighters? Take the Saber versus the Gladius, for example, or the Mustang being the worst compared to many other fighters. Does it feel that your more expensive ships in real-life money terms have been buffed compared to those with which cost less? This also applies to ships in seemingly different categories, like the Freelancer versus the new Cutlass. The latter can not only carry a lot more cargo, but is similar cargo, but is better armed, making it a better choice for hauling than the Freelancer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of stop there. There are different tiers, but it's supposed to kind of relate in real money terms. You do have cheaper options, more expensive options, and very expensive options. Now, that's supposed to actually correlate to in-game tiers as well. So, like the Gladius, for example, is a relatively low-cost fighter. But it's also an in-lore older ship that's been around for a very long time. The Avenger is an old like police vessel, really, and that's a even cheaper option that's going to be available too. So the age of the ships, the specification of the ships, and the kind of where it came in the development cycle all play into that. Another factor with cost is how rare they want things to be. So if you take the Saber, which is a $170 ship, you're talking about a ship that is a current generation military, focused ship. So you're talking about a newer, more technologically advanced, more stealthy, current gen fighter. So that is going to cost more in the game. If you were like a real person in Star Citizen, a Saber would cost you more money than a Gladius would. Now, that's not to say the Saber is, twice as good as the Gladius, but, I would say I'm much more proficient in a Saber than I am the Gladius. So that is a real thing there, but there's other factors as far as how many they want in the verse, what the actual life value would be in the verse, and those types of things all go into play. Now, with the Freelancer and the Cutlass, you're not wrong. The new Cutlass carries a comparable amount of cargo. It flies pretty well. It's got more, it's got more weaponry on it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a better hauler than the Freelancer. It just means it's probably better at doing more things than the Freelancer. The Freelancer should have some things that really go well for it. One being that the cargo is very easily accessible. It should be well organized. But I think what you're going to see is a higher level of technology on the Freelancer, which is going to help to allow it to, you see other things a little bit better. You might be able to organize your cargo better. It's got longer range than the Cutlass should. You know, it's got more seats on the bridge. You know, they're just really different animals. So I wouldn't say that the Cutlass is better at hauling than the Freelancer. I would just say it's kind of different in the way they go about it. So kind of a long answer to your question. Michael T, what are your thoughts on customizations for ships and weapons? My thoughts are ships should have customizations for hull upgrades and armor glass upgrades to increase armor, and the wing upgrades to change aerodynamics, and different thrusters and maneuvering thrusters. Okay, so let's stop there for a sec. You will be able to change things like armor. It's going to be a component within the item system, so you can change your armor to maybe be lighter weight, which may make your ship faster or more durable, but at the increase or at the decrease of your maneuverability and probably efficiency overall. So those are things. As far as actually changing wings, I think that's like a whole specific thing. I don't think you're going to see changes to that. You know, you can probably change attributes about the wings, but not like the shape to change aerodynamics. And then thrusters and maneuvering thrusters, you'll have upgrade options there to kind of change it into different ways to perform differently to your liking or based on the situation that you're getting into. As far as window tint, that's a customization in paint. I think that's something we'll probably see. We know that the Saber and Saber Comet have different tints on them, so that may be different. And able to add spotlights you mentioned, I think that's something that's going to be determined based on utility points on the ship. So like the Cutlass Red has utility points for spotlights, whereas the Cutlass Blue probably doesn't. Guns should also have high amounts of both physical and aesthetic customizations to add variety, since you can only carry 3. Not sure what you mean by only carry 3, but I don't think guns are going to necessarily have as much customization. I think you may see different types of ammunition that can be used, and you can probably tweak them to perform a little bit different. But I don't necessarily think you're going to see like a pink, you know, M3A or something like that. So yeah, I think that's what the customization is going to look like. I think there's going to be a lot that's going to have an impact on the overall performance of your ships, and then there's going to be a lot that's going to come with the actual visualization of it all. But it's also not going to be carte blanche and, you know, I guess tied to everything. Dumb Comment says, losing a ship in 3.0, you can still respawn it, right? Yes, you do have to go through the insurance claim process, though. It's supposed to be like the real look at like persistence, so it's not really all that different from 2.6, but you're not out for good. Joe's got more. We've only seen atmospheric entry from one direction front. Do you think there will ever be entry in any other direction, and will there be any benefit like less heat damage? Also, will we be able to stop the ship mid-transition? I think you can really enter any way that you want to. I think your speeds are going to be a little bit different going in at different angles, so you may not get the atmospheric kind of effect. I don't think there's going to be any real benefit to going in one way or another, and I think to this point we haven't seen any damage that's associated with going in, so I think your shields are probably protecting you there. Though you do see some effects on your ship, like it heating up, so there may be something as far as like durability or length or things that you have to do as a maintenance side of things. And yes, you can stop the ship mid-transition. So like, there's not some like artificial process to where you have to like stop as you descend. You can just stop wherever you want. And if you don't have any momentum as you're going through the atmosphere, there's not any atmospheric effect. The last two questions are patron questions. The first one from Sketchy: will reputation carry over, in part at least, to their heirs when you die? Yes, I think you get some of the reputation that's associated with it. I think, you know, if you're a really bad criminal and you die, I think your heir then ends up associating some of that. The game doesn't want death to be I guess, a way out of doing a lot of bad things. So, yeah, there will be some carryover there. Now, as far as the good things, I would assume some of that carries over. You know, they want death to mean a lot, but they also don't want it to totally screw you. So I don't think you would have to start from the ground up as far as like building a reputation with guilds and things like that. But we'll just need to see how in-depth that goes. And the last question is from Cade. He says, what do we know about the transferability of ships once the game goes live? For example, if I have a multi-ship pack and want to give a few ships to friends or other accounts that I own, is there going to be any easy way to do this in-game? Do we know anything about how that will happen, or will it be enabled? So there should be ship sales or loaning between friends. Now, I don't know if you're necessarily going to be able to say, I'm going to sell this ship to you for like 1 UEC, or if it's going to be something that has to be an actual market value. Or if it can be gifted. I would assume you can assign whatever value you want, or you could maybe say, I'm giving you permission to use this ship, and I think this is the way it'll probably go. It's almost like loaning. You know, I'm giving you permission to use this ship for as long as you want. So you're basically just saying, you have temporary ownership over this ship, but I still technically have the title to it. And then Rockseeker says, add to this the last question, what will happen to the remaining pledge insurance if you sell an in-game ship from a multi-ship pledge package? I think what's going to happen is it's showing up as multi-ship like insurance, but it's really associated to each one of the ships on the package. So if it has 6-month insurance and you've used 3 months of it, and then somebody else is using it, it'll be covered for an additional, 3 months. If you don't have it back by that time, you're still technically the owner, so you would still need to end up paying insurance on it, at least I believe. Otherwise, if they crash your ship and they're using it and it's not covered, you're not getting it replaced. So that's it for this episode of The Inbox. If you guys have questions, please get them in. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more, and have a wonderful day. Take care.